The topic, our first family trip to Disney. And this trip was labeled as our baby moon. I'm going to cover the topics on, first and foremost, why Disney. I'm then going to hop into our hotel. I'm going to have another section on which we called food, meals, and drinks. From there, I hit parks and other notes of interest, which is more just how we went through the parks. I also want to walk through transportation. And then last but not least, I'm going to hit final tips. So that is all coming up next. Stay tuned. The first topic is why Disney, but before I get into why Disney, I wanted to share with you all on why I even wrote the initial blog post and then also made this video for YouTube. And really it's just a thank you to all the other individuals that took time to write their own blog posts and share their own videos, because they were instrumental in myself and for our family planning really what seems to be our first trip to Disney. My wife and I were both there when we were probably 2 years old, around the same age that our son was going. So for us, it was all a new experience. So that was the main motivator on why I wanted to write a detailed blog post and then also share a video on the topic of our family vacation. So the funny story was, this was our baby moon. And baby moons are typically, the goal is a place for mom to relax. So taking my 6-month pregnant wife and my 20-month-old son to Disney in the middle of summer probably doesn't qualify as the relaxing baby moon. But my wife is a trooper and she was game for it. But the funnier story was that initially we really had almost a full trip planned out to Bermuda. We had hotel, looking at airfare. We didn't book anything, but we did a lot of research and we were convinced that we were going to head to Bermuda. We live in Philly, so it was a pretty close commute out to Bermuda. Beaches, warm weather, sounded very nice. Only problem was my passport was expired and so was my wife's. We did not feel like going through the entire process of getting them expedited. My son does not have a passport. So we were back to the drawing board and ended up at Disney. There's also a side story too, that we have our in-laws live in Florida. So I figured that if we could make it through 4 grueling hot days as mom and dad in Disney, that by the time we got over to the in-laws, we had some backup babysitter duty, we had a nice pool, so mom and dad could maybe have the more relaxing side to their baby moon. So that's how we ended up on Disney, and now I'll hop into some more of the details on really what we liked and what we enjoyed and our best tips and tricks. As a financial planner and a CFP, I believe there is a financial literacy problem in this country. So one thing that I like to do is always share exact cost. For the birth of our first son, Riker, I went through and shared every single cost in that first year. I think it's important, one, for you to understand cost, and if you're getting ready to have your first child, that's a good budget for you to review. But more importantly, I think it just gives us an idea of cost, but it just makes financial conversations non-taboo. So the first thing is, I just want to put that out there that I will walk through all the costs. At the end, I'll tell you exactly what our trip cost. So we'll start with that, and then as we walk through, we'll hit every main topic that I discussed there in the intro. And the first one we'll start with is hotel. So for us, the hotel was really one of the main selling points for us to go to Disney. Our son really loves animals. So when I heard about the Animal Kingdom Lodge and these Savannah View rooms, where your room overlooks essentially a safari, that was the thing that really drew me into. And when I explained it to my wife too, she was also fully on board for it. And I will say that staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge was amazing. I'll go through a few reasons why we really liked it and a few reasons why we probably wouldn't stay there next time. Only the main reason being is because you are a little bit further from the main parks. Really, the Magic Kingdom is pretty far away. But everything else, the hotel was amazing. It was beautiful. The property was immaculate. The staff was amazing. So we stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. We really enjoyed it. The total cost of the hotel, which also included the park passes, was $2,072.76. So from a cost perspective, that covered the room. It also covered our our tickets for those. We did 3 park days, even though we were there for 4 days. My best tips for the Animal Kingdom Lodge: pay a little bit extra for the Savannah view. From what we've heard, it's just well worth it. In the research I did beforehand, it was well worth it. Now that we've gone through it, I can tell you I thought it was well worth it. I think the difference in cost varies depending on when you're going, but we love the Savannah view. Our son loved it. He would go out there and just scream at the animals. We often would keep our screen door open with essentially the mosquito netting, assuming that's what it was meant for, and just literally look at the animals. I'm an early riser, so I would go out there with coffee and just sit there and watch the animals roam around. It was really cool. So pay a little bit extra for the Savannah view. The pool area was amazing. It was a beautiful pool, so we really enjoyed that. Going forward, we'd probably like to utilize the pool area a little bit more, no matter which hotel we'd stay at in Disney. The only downside was it was the furthest hotel from the Magic Kingdom, or maybe not the furthest. It was pretty far, so it was about a 20 to 30 minute ride into the Magic Kingdom. We did that one day. We took the buses. It was pretty good. The nice part about Animal Kingdom Lodge is they do have their own bus, so you're not getting trapped with maybe 6 hotels trying to get onto one bus. If you are in a rush to get to the park, though, you can always download the Lyft app and use the minivans, mini as in Minnie Mouse. And that was really nice. We used that on our final day of the trip because we wanted to make it a very efficient day and make the best use of our time. So we called them. Actually, we requested them on the app. They pulled up right in front of the hotel. We hopped in. They took us right to the front of the park, which is also important because basic Lyfts and basic Ubers and other ride shares cannot take you to the front of the park. They usually have to drop you off at the monorail, and then you have to go through that whole ordeal. So we also took it home. They picked us up right at the park entrance of the Magic Kingdom, and then took us back. It's a little bit pricey. So from where we were at, it was $40 each way. But when you compare that to the amount of extra time you had in the park and just the convenience factor, I still think that was money well spent. And then the other big positive is how close you are to Animal Kingdom. So the Animal Kingdom is very close to the Animal Kingdom Lodge. I think it was a 10-minute bus ride. It may have not have even been 10 minutes. So just know that if you do plan to spend more days at the Animal Kingdom and maybe not the Magic Kingdom, well, then the Animal Kingdom Lodge could be your best option. But overall, love the hotel. We will likely go back to that hotel again once our kids get older and they can probably withstand the bus ride, or at least a little bit more calm. But that was an amazing hotel, and I do not have enough good things to say about it. Food, meals, and drinks. A very hot topic in the Disney World blog and YouTube content world. Seems like a lot of worlds. I think the main reason being is because of the meal plan versus the no meal plan. From what I read, no meal plan seemed to have a bigger following in individuals that seem to be what I would label as Disney experts. So for this trip, we did no meal plan. But the cool thing was we tracked every single dollar. So it gave us the chance to really compare going forward. So our food game plan was this. The first thing we did was we ordered from Garden Grocer. Garden Grocer is just an online delivery app. Very nicely designed app. You hop on there, click the food that you want. For example, we did water, Gatorade, I think a few snacks for Riker, baby diapers, and baby wipes. All in all, our total was $112.49. So we just really ordered some necessities, stuff that we didn't want to pack, stuff that we could have there already cold. Riker loves to have a little yogurt pouch in the morning. I think we ordered some of the cool little PBJs just to have around as snacks. So Garden Grocer was awesome. One thing that I plan to utilize even more on our future trips and add some more items in there, especially in the blog post we wrote a note on. I think that'd be a good place to replace the breakfast meal. I feel like the breakfast meal in Disney always felt a little bit rushed. Maybe get the Mickey Mouse pancakes or the Mickey Mouse waffles at least once to say that you did it. Besides that, I feel like that was the one meal that we probably could have ordered from Garden Grocer. Some Cliff Bars, some fruit, some yogurt. So that was the one thing that I noticed that we can add to in the future. The next thing was really the overall meal plan. So we tracked all of our spending. Every food purchase we did, we either used our Magic Band or I used our credit card. So a few of the things that I didn't use the Magic Band for were just when we were over at Disney Springs, where I used the credit card. The total spending on food for 4 days. This does include the $112 from Garden Grocery that I just covered, was $768.94. So when I compared that to the meal plan, it seems like we still made a good decision to not use the meal plan. The one thing to keep in mind is the character dinners. Character dinners are very cool. The problem is they're very expensive. So for my wife and I to do buffet dinners, and our son was still underage that we didn't even have to pay for him to get the buffet, we were looking at $150 per meal. So by the time you add the 20% tip on there, that got us that $150 number, but that's a pretty pricey meal. I mean, we live in Center City, Philadelphia with some of the best restaurants in the world. $150 to us is still a very nice restaurant, even in the city. So that was kind of our food game plan going into it. All right, my best tips for food, meals, and drinks. First one, without a doubt, Garden Grocer. Make sure you take advantage of Garden Grocer. There are other apps out there too that do the same thing. I was just very impressed with Garden Grocer. I am a type A person. I like to do my research. I was just very impressed with everything that they did. Don't forget, if you do a meal plan, meal plans do not include tips. So that is the one thing, and really at the end when I compared them, that almost ended up being the difference between the two numbers that I compared, on one being higher versus one being lower. So don't forget, even if you do a meal plan, you still have to tip. And just based on the numbers that I told you before on some of those character dinners, you can still pay a good chunk of change in just tips alone. So make sure you keep that in mind. Meal plans, there are certain times of year that Disney, at least once or twice from what I've seen, again, I'm not a Disney expert, I'm still learning as I go here, it looks like Disney offers these free meal plans about once or twice per year. The lady that sat beside me on the plane down, she was actually going down for a free meal plan that they got earlier in the year. So keep an eye out for that. I hope to take advantage of that in late 2020 when we try to get down there again. So keep an eye out for free meal plans from Disney. The overall meal plan conversation. Here is the summary that I got, and I'm going to approve of this too based on what we saw. So unless you eat like Joey Chestnut, or unless you enjoy red wine and alcohol with all your meals, I don't think a meal plan makes sense for most. I think the cost is pretty close from the research that I just did comparing the two. I think the thing is, if it turns out to be the same, I would still lean for no meal plan. And the big topic that I uncovered both for us personally, but from what I read, was the convenience factor of not having to plan that far in advance. By us not having a meal plan, we could change things last minute and not have to worry about, oh, is this covered, or how many credits is this going to take up? So that was the one thing that I really enjoyed the most by not having a meal plan. However, with that said, when we do go back in later 2020, I do want to either utilize the free meal plan to see how that feels to use a meal plan, or to even buy a meal plan and see how close they are. Hopefully it's not a horrible financial decision, but we'll find out by the next time that we get down to try that. Another tip was mobile ordering. Mobile ordering was really cool. So when you download the Disney app, when you first buy your tickets or your family vacation, the mobile app was awesome, super easy to use, but mobile ordering for food was wonderful. We went to get tacos one day with our family, and it was about a 45-minute wait just to get 3 tacos and a thing of nachos. When that lunchtime rush hits, it is no joke. Just to get basic food can take anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour just to get your food. So take advantage of the mobile ordering. Not all restaurants have it, but a lot do, so make sure you check that out. I don't know if this is labeled as a hidden gem, but we absolutely loved Disney Springs. So Disney Springs is a little bit off campus. It's still on campus, but it's not in any of the parks. But because it's not in any of the parks and you have some more outside vendors, the pricing is a little bit more competitive. So what we noticed was food was a little bit cheaper over there. The service was a little bit better because they're really trying to get your business. But Disney Springs was awesome. So whether you're looking for cool restaurants, cool bars, or just really good shopping, Disney Springs was awesome. That is something when we go back in the future, we hope to utilize that even more and get over to Disney Springs. We just really enjoyed that area. The biggest downside, again, this is a tip and trick, but the biggest downside, because we did book somewhat last minute. We booked still with I think we were almost 70 days out. But dining reservations gives you 180 days. When I first booked, I was thinking 70 days, that's still plenty of time. Like, we'll still be able to get a lot of the restaurants. They fill up quickly. Case in point, we wanted to eat breakfast at Chef Mickey. We wanted Chef Mickey's. We thought our son would love that. I kept an eye on that thing every single day. Nothing opened up. So for those more popular restaurants, if you do book your vacation far enough in advance, make sure you put a calendar reminder on there for 180 days out to book your restaurants and get those on there. At least book the most popular ones, and then you can kind of free range the other ones. But that's the last tip and trick I have for the meal, food, and drink section. Parks and other notes of interest. So for our family vacation, again, 6-month pregnant wife, 20-month-old son. So going into it, we knew that we could not accomplish everything. We knew that we probably didn't have full days in the park. So this was our game plan. We opted for 1 day at Animal Kingdom and 2 days at Magic Kingdom. And it really worked out well. The one thing that we found out on Monday was our first park day, was that in the middle of summer, it can be very difficult to keep a toddler happy outside for that long period of time. And he was a trooper. If Disney did not have these baby care centers, and I can't emphasize how vital and awesome these baby care centers were, especially the baby care center at the Animal Kingdom, because it provided a private room. But essentially, this is what our Monday looked like. Had a great morning at the park. Everything was going well. We knew it was getting close to nap time. Riker, our son, was starting to get a little bit fussy. So we said, hey, let's put him in the stroller. We walked through the Gorilla Falls, and we're thinking he'll fall asleep. Well, it's a toddler. It's Disney. He's excited. It's hot as heck. It's very hot outside. It's very humid. He's in a stroller. So one, he's excited to see everything, but two, it's very hot and he's uncomfortable. So we tried that for an hour. It wasn't working. Then we went to plan B, where my wife rocks him. Again, my wife is 6 months pregnant. It's very hot outside. So my wife is just rocking him back in this quiet place that we found, still not falling asleep. At this point, I'm calling it and saying, hey, let's just go back to the hotel. This is starting to get a little bit dangerous. Again, my wife being pregnant, my son not sleeping, nobody was happy. So my wife on the way out, as always, my wife is the smartest one in our family. She says, hey, look up those baby care center things. And thank God I did, and thank God that she said that, because that saved us. We walked into the baby care center, this beautiful air-conditioned room. Animal Kingdom has two or three private rooms where you can go in and nurse. There's other play areas, there's changing tables, but we essentially got a private room. Riker fell asleep on Mari in minutes. Mari was in the rocking chair, so she had a chance to relax. There's air conditioning. Using the mobile ordering that I mentioned in the food section, I ordered food for us. I walked out, I grabbed it. Mari and I could eat lunch. It gave us an hour and a half where we didn't have to go the whole way back to the hotel. We didn't have to come the whole way back, and all the other craziness that comes with that. So the baby care centers for us were huge and a huge help for us, and it allowed us really to extend all 3 days at the park and save us hours by not having to go back to the hotel and commute back and forth. So if you have a young toddler, if you have a pregnant wife, any of those examples, make sure that you utilize the baby care centers. They were huge for our trip. All right, 2 more topics for this section are, I just wanted to throw a note out there on our plans for our next trip. So we love the Animal Kingdom Lodge, but the more I learned about the park, we'll probably stay closer to Magic Kingdom next time. One, we will have a son that'll almost be 3, but then we'll also have a newborn that's about to be 1 year old. So we've already said that our goal going forward is we're going to do half days at the park. We'll do a half day at the park, come back, rest at the pool or maybe in the room, get naps, and then either go to Universal Studios or Disney Springs or Epcot and have still some rides and stuff, but more or less a relaxing night with dinner and drinks at that point. I didn't have my drinking partner for this one since my wife was pregnant, so we plan to do that next time. So we put a note out there when we did the research. Disney Beach Club and the Polynesian look like 2 options that we may utilize next time. Not because we didn't love the Animal Kingdom or Animal Kingdom Lodge, just more or less we want it to be a little bit closer to items that are maybe more walking distance or even areas that are just a little bit easier to get to. Last topic for this section is the Fast Pass. So if you're not familiar with the Fast Pass is something that's really embedded in your Magic Band, but it allows you to book the important rides, or I shouldn't say important rides, the the rides that fill up sooner. It allows you to book them 60 days, 60 days in advance. So this way you can skip what's called the wait line. So you'll book these all on the app. Again, the app is kind of the central location to do a lot of the things, at least it was for us on our Disney trip. So with the Fast Pass, you can pick your rides and you go right into the Fast Pass line. What we noticed was still some of the rides still have a wait even with a Fast Pass, with you reserving the Fast Pass, but it's a lot better than the standby line. I think the first one we did was just the Lion King show at the Animal Kingdom. We had to wait in line for the show to start. We got in there in about 15 minutes. The standby line was about 3 hours. And keep in mind, I don't think that's one of the more popular rides. It was a great show, but that's what we noticed with the Fast Pass. So when you're adding reminders to your calendar, make sure 60 days in advance you put the Fast Pass on there to pick some of your favorite rides and make sure that you're blocking those off. That'll also save you some time and keep things going smoothly for you on your trip. Final thing to note on park costs, the reason why I didn't say how much the park cost, again, when we booked our hotel, we also booked our Fast Pass and our park ticket. So the park tickets and Fast Pass came together. We didn't do the park hopper option, again, just knowing that we had a toddler. We didn't have enough time to hop around to different parks. As the kids get older, that's something we probably will utilize just to see those different parks, even for our next trip, so we can go, to Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom during the day, and then head to Epcot for dinner. We will likely add that park hopper in the future trips. But again, the reason why I did not include a cost here was because it was included with the overall hotel and the hotel cost that I included in that section. Transportation. Transportation was interesting. So when I went to book the flights, there's a side story to it. The last time I flew with my son, we were coming home from Florida, and it was just a bad timed flight, and he was maxed out to the point where we were the family with the screaming child. At one point, I debated if I could jump out of the airline, if the airplane would make things easier for everybody. We just lost all control. He was tired. He was crawling under the seats. He was untying people's shoes. And we weren't the parents that just neglected him. We tried everything. We were giving him snacks. We were giving him all his toys. We were iPads, iPhones, anything with an I, we were providing to him. I joked in the blog post, I even offered season tickets to the Boston Bruins. He was not budging for anything. So that trip scarred me a little bit. So when I went to book this flight, I booked flights that were closer to nap time so that he would fall asleep on the flight. Funny side story on the side story, he didn't sleep on either one of these flights. But he was a very good boy. He was happy the entire flight. But that led us to booking with Frontier. Usually I like to fly American only because their major hub here is in Philly. So I chose Frontier. We've heard horror stories of Frontier and Spirit, but I thought to myself, how bad could it be? I won't walk through the entire story here. It's in the blog post. You can read the details. I will say in the end, Frontier ended up taking care of us, but on the ride down, they ended up just mangling our stroller. This was the first time we ever took a stroller on a flight because we knew we were going to use it a lot in Disney. Food tray was broken off. There was holes in it. You can read more about it. And then coming home, we had the issue of we booked row 2. Row 2 was not first class. On Frontier, row 2 just gave us a little bit more leg room, but the bathroom was right in front of us. Our son went to the bathroom. It smelled horrible. They kept blocking it off every time the pilot would come out so that he could go to the bathroom. The strange thing was it was a 2-hour flight. The pilot came out 3 separate times. It seemed like he was probably flirting a little bit with the stewardess. It was just an odd thing. So essentially I had to carry my son 30 rows to the back with a stinky diaper, probably ruined a lot of people's flights with just the smell alone. So those were the fun side stories. While it was nice that Frontier did compensate us for the damage to the stroller, we're still waiting for the check, but they said they did mail it. We probably won't fly Frontier again. So just a little side story to the transportation. The main topics for transportation are, when we did get there, the Disney Magical Express is a really neat thing to take advantage of. So when you book everything through Disney, you can get on their bus and it'll pick you up right at the airport. They'll send you bag tags in advance. We put a note on the blog post to do that about a month in advance. You can either pick up your luggage or you can actually let Disney pick up your luggage, put it on the bus for you, and send it back. The only problem if you do that, they said you probably won't get your luggage for 2 to 3 hours. I opted just to get our bags from the baggage claim. I put them under the bus. Really nice bus, nice seats. They have Disney stuff getting you all excited. pulls up right to the hotel. So make sure you take advantage of the Disney Magical Express. The other part to keep in mind, and let me just put some notes here on the cost as well. So for our flight down, our son was still under the age of 2, so he flew for free, but our total flight round trip was $991.20. On the blog post, I did put the cost of the broken stroller. That was not included in there, assuming that most of you don't have to go through the same nightmare of a broken stroller that we had to. The other costs for transportation were, we did take the minivans twice, and then we signed up for an Uber to Disney Springs on our first night there. Just a regular Uber. We did get the car seat, so that was a little bit more expensive. Those 2 trips alone, so Disney Springs into Magic Kingdom, we were at another $126.98 for ride sharing. So the main takeaways with the transportation were, make sure you take advantage of the Disney Magical Express. And then also, when you're down there, if you're looking for a neat option to get right to the front of the park, is use the minivans. And that is all for the transportation section. In conclusion, so the total cost for everything in our trip down to Disney was $4,035.47. Seems like a high number for a 4-day trip, but truthfully, I was really impressed with Disney. I did a lot of research on other trips. It seemed like everything was coming back in that price range, to the point where I told a lot of individuals, I don't know how families travel anymore. It's almost amazing how expensive everything has become. This was our first trip since our honeymoon, where it had a lot of details to it. Maybe in the honeymoon I just forgot how expensive things were, but it caught me off guard on just how much travel really costs today. But I do think, even though that was a higher number, it was well worth it for the memories, and we just had a really good time in Disney. So with that said, I now want to walk through really my top tips if you head to Disney. So we'll walk through these one by one. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but if you ever see my eyes bouncing back and forth, I pull up the actual blog post on my screen here, and then I bounce back and forth just so that I'm giving you, line by line details, but also still, feel like we're having a conversation together. So the first tip that I had, this isn't to say cancel your trip, but going with a toddler and my pregnant wife in the middle of summer was tough. Not saying that it can't be done. It was just really difficult. It was really hot. Again, our son was not comfortable in the stroller. My wife was also very hot. So if you can really avoid summer trips, try to avoid summer trips, I think, when you have very young children and or a pregnant wife. If you can get down there during a free meal plan, for sure take advantage of that. I think a meal plan alone will save you $1,000. So if you can take advantage of their free meal plans, keep in mind they do have one coming up in late 2019. I put a link to that in the blog post. Take advantage of that. Download the Disney World app. That was really the hub for everything that we did. It's a really nice app too. I really enjoyed that. I would find myself, it almost got me excited for the trip. If I was just sitting around and on my phone, I would click on and just kind of look at different things. So make sure you download that right away. 2 reminders to put on your calendar. 180 days out, book your restaurants. 60 days out, book your rides for FastPass. A client of mine recommended this, and I'm so happy that she did, because I would not have known to do this if she wouldn't have given me this heads up. She's been to Disney a few times with her daughter, and she said buy an autograph book. So we bought an autograph book. We bought the autograph book that you could also put pictures in. So every time Riker was getting his autographs, we were taking pictures of it and really documenting the special memories. So that is something that I recommend. We put a link in there for Amazon for the one that we use, so check that out. The Disney Magical Express, so the bus that picks you up. About 30 days in advance, let them know. One, it puts it in the system, but then they're also going to mail you cool little bag tags that you can put on there, luggage tags, where you put your name on them with the Disney characters on it. Really nice gesture. And then they also put on actual bag tags that tell you what hotel to take your bags to. So get that set up, send them your flight numbers. We only used it for the flight down because we went over to our family for the rest of the trip. So we did not return on the Magical Express, but everything on the way, landing, getting on the bus, getting the bus over to the hotel was really awesome. We enjoyed that. If you do go in summer, I put a few tips on here. So the Florida heat is no joke. It is hot. It is humid. For some odd reason, when we left Philly in the middle of summer, it was the same temperatures up here. awkwardly, it felt more humid up here than it did in Florida. I don't know if that was maybe because we were just excited for the trip, but it is still very hot and humid. Just to give you an idea of how far you walk, we had 3 park days. We walked 18.6 miles. We tracked 47,000 miles. Excuse me, 47,000 miles. 47,000 steps. 40,007 miles would be a lot. I also kept my phone in a little pouch. I don't even think it picked up every step. So it just goes to show you, you will walk a very long distance and it's very hot and humid. Some of the other tips that we have is we had a spray and mist fan. I put a link on there for Amazon for the one that we utilize. The other neat thing was these cooling towels. So we ordered these blue cooling towels. You would get them wet, you would wring them out, and then you'd keep them around your neck to keep you cool. They were really great, especially for Mari, again, being pregnant, walking around. My goal was to keep her as comfortable as possible. So between the spray fan and the cooling towels, they did a great job. They also sell cooling towels in Disney, so they are very popular. I said just order them on Amazon beforehand, throw them in your bag, and you'll be good to go. For some reason, Riker, again, about 20 months old at the time, he did not like the cooling towels. I think he thought they were weird. They did have a weird texture, the ones that we bought, but I put links to both of those on the blog post, which we'll include below here on the YouTube video. Refillable water bottles. So because of when we went, it was very hot, most of the restaurants had cups sitting out for you. There's water fountains everywhere, but bring a refillable water bottle. If you walk into a restaurant and you say, I'd like a water, and they hand you a water bottle, just tell them you want just the cup and ice. They assume that if you're going to pay for it, great, they'd be happy to take your money. But most of them already have cups out there with ice in there. The refillable water bottle, you can fill it up with either those cups or plenty of water fountains. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. My best tip is do not try to do everything. This probably more or less pertains to families like ours with young children, but if you try to do everything, or even on the Fast Pass, if you book everything back to back to back, it can get a little bit stressful going from one ride to the next and running around. Again, it's hot, it's busy. Disney's busy, so even if you're not in summer, it's just a busy spot. So don't try to do everything. Give yourself some flexibility in your agendas. I think those are really important takeaways, and really my best takeaway from what we learned on our trip to Disney. If you're traveling with a toddler, your child is still your child, meaning that they still take naps, they still eat at the same times. Just because they're not in Disney, they're not going to, be the world's best behaved kid all of a sudden. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're still respecting their schedule and how they eat. I think you can stretch it a little bit. At least we did with Riker, maybe staying up a little bit later and things like that. But we really try to stick to the same schedule. Baby care center. So again, nursing mom, a toddler, a pregnant mom. If you just need a room with AC, the baby care centers were huge and something that we really can't thank Disney enough for having those around. That saved us a ton of time on our trip. So really, in conclusion, it was a wonderful trip to Disney. I loved everything about Disney. Disney required so much planning that for someone like me, again, being that type A personality, it's something that I want to get better at every year and try to conquer Disney, which I know is not possible. But it was an amazing trip. The memories that I have, the pictures that we have, even just seeing my wife's face when we walked into Magic Kingdom, seeing my son's face when he met Mickey and Minnie, those are memories that'll stay with me forever. So I cannot speak highly enough about Disney. I hope this blog post, this YouTube post, which is an addition to the blog post as well on the topic, provides some tips and tricks that you and your family can utilize on your trip to Disney. So if you've not subscribed, now would be a good time to do so. You can click on the subscribe link below. You can also click on the bell, which will give you a notification when we send out a new video. So if you are someone that found us for looking for Disney, we usually write a lot on personal finance for Gen X and Gen Y. But if you found us from just the personal finance side, when I first started this blog and started our company back in 2015, I promised that I wasn't going to just write about boring finance topics. So now I try to pull in a lot of topics like our trip to Disney or having our first child and bringing more of the personal finance into financial planning. So those are a few things that I wanted to add in here. Feel free to drop a comment. Let us know what your favorite tips are. What are your favorite tips and tricks for conquering Disney? What did you love most about Disney? What did you not like about Disney? Any comments you share, others will see them, and hopefully they can also add those, your tips and tricks to their next trip. More importantly, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.